who volunteer at Meals on Wheels of Middle Georgia are a crucial component in helping us accomplish the goal of delivering nutritious meals to homebound senior and disabled citizens. Beyond the delivery of food, the volunteers also provide friendship, comfort, and hope. Become a Meals on Wheels of Middle Georgia volunteer today. Call 478-745-9140.
One of the things that all of us are concerned about is how precious life is. Another thing that we're concerned about is the quality of life. Another thing that we're concerned about is education and our children and making sure that they grow up to be responsible and productive citizens. Now, what's important as it relates to that is that our young people particularly have information that will assist them in being meaningful students and growing up to be responsible citizens. Well, we got a problem, Houston. We got a problem. And that problem is that too many of our young people don't understand a whole lot about living, but we're going to talk specifically today about a specific problem, and that's guns. Too many of our young people are getting killed. Too many of our young people don't take it seriously. Too many of our young people think that it's fantasy, that they're in fantasy world. Too many of our young people think it's video games. And subsequently and consequently, we've got a serious problem in our community with guns and homicides and burglaries and crime and illegal possessions of guns and a whole lot of other things. Well, I just happen to have some good news. I got some feel good today because we are going to talk with these two entities, these two organizations, and they are more involved, but we just got to today, about an initiative that has been created to kind of educate these young people as it relates to the dangers and the punishment and the consequences of having guns. And if, in fact, we were to make young people more conscientious as it relates to that, then it would have a rippling effect by making them attuned to education, reducing homicide, reducing crime, reducing incarceration, and all that good stuff. So I have with me today Ms. Sonja Profit of the U.S. Attorney's Office. Is that right, U.S. Attorney?
That's correct. Thanks so much, Alex. It's great to be with you here today.
Okay. And I also have Ms. Karen Lambert of the Peyton Anderson Foundation. So why don't you all just take a minute, starting with you, Karen, just kind of introduce yourself.
Alex, thank you so much for having me and for highlighting this initiative of the Peyton Anderson Foundation. I'm a hometown girl, lived here all my life, love this town, and I have been with the Peyton Anderson Foundation since 2012. It is a foundation that was established through the estate of Peyton Anderson, who way back in the day owned the Macon Telegraph and the Macon News. And he loved his community. His community had been good to him. It enabled him to be very successful in business. And when he passed away, he left most of his money to establish the foundation and said he wanted to improve the lives and the communities of the folks of Middle Georgia. People of Macon and Middle Georgia had been good to him, and he wanted in turn to be good to them. And so it's been my honor since 2012 to lead that foundation.
Outstanding. Ms. Sonja?
Yes, I have been with the U.S. Attorney's Office since 2012 now. And prior to that, I was in-house counsel for Allstate Insurance Company right here in Macon, where I tried a number of cases, jury trials. And I guess I was with them for some 13 years before coming over to United States Attorney's Office. Both sides of it, the civil practice as well, of course, as a criminal practice, has been exceptionally rewarding. And I've enjoyed, of course, my time that I had with Allstate, but on this side of it, it's a lot different, but it's challenging. But likewise as well, it's very rewarding. As you know, Alex, our U.S. Attorney now is Charles Peeler, and he has been very instrumental in how cracking down on gun violence. And we see so much of it, you know, to the point where we're at a point now, how can we prevent this? And so this initiative that was spearheaded by the Peyton Anderson Foundation is near and dear to his heart. And it was an honor to be asked by Judge Treadwell, who I understand was a brainchild behind this idea. It was an honor to be a part of this project. So I'm looking forward to the dissemination of the project. Charles Peeler has already sent it out to all 93 U.S. attorneys' offices and has gotten great feedback as a result. And so it's getting out there. And so we want to find out today, I guess, through your program, how we can disseminate it to other organizations.
Thank you very much. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Haversham. And as they stated, interviewing Ms. Karen Lambert of the Peyton Anderson Foundation and Ms. Sonja Profit of the U.S. Attorney's Office. And they have this film that was professionally produced called Armed with Knowledge. So Karen, why did Peyton Anderson get involved in this?
Well, as Sonja mentioned, this was the brainchild of Judge Mark Treadwell. Judge Treadwell is a trustee of the Peyton Anderson Foundation. He has served on our board for a few years now. And in his work at being judge, he would see so many times people come through his courtroom and other courtrooms in the area and have no idea of what having an illegal gun or a gun by a prohibited person, what that does to your sentence. It sometimes adds 10, 15 years to a person's sentence when they're going through the court. And he saw that people had no idea. So in addition to the violence from guns, you know, the people getting shot, people getting killed, families, communities that are just devastated. Also, the person with a gun, even if he hadn't been involved or she hadn't been involved in a violent crime at that moment, but has one, has added years to their sentence. And so it just dramatically impacts a person's life. And it was news that we didn't know at the foundation. And we began to talk about how we might bring awareness to this problem. And so this is how the film came about.
Outstanding. Sonja, kind of give us a little background on, you know, the legal ramifications, if you please, because I was reading that there are a lot of conditions as it relates to gun possession and gun ownership. And, you know, a lot of people really don't realize it, but and then what I really want to do, and you all can think about it, I really want to put some focus on the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old, you know, who thinks it's cool, you know, to have a gun and, you know, and try to impress his friends. But talk about it, first of all, from I said legal, but I almost said from an illegal perspective.
I understand. Well, there's certain categories of persons that are just flat out not allowed to carry a gun. And what we have, first of all, is, and they're all categorized under prohibited person. That's the broad term. But specifically, you have your convicted felons. If you have been convicted of a crime punishable by more than a year of imprisonment, you're a convicted felon. You can't have a gun, plain and simple. If you are a drug user, that's a big one, Alex. If you're a drug user, and you know how prevalent marijuana use is, you riding along smoking weed in your car or wherever, and you got a gun, that's illegal. It's flat out illegal. Most people don't know that, but hence the reason we're here, to get that message out. If you are an illegal alien, of course, it's illegal for you to have a gun. If you have been adjudicated mentally ill, it's illegal for you to have a gun. If you've got a domestic restraining order, it's illegal for you to have a gun. If you've got a misdemeanor conviction for domestic violence, and we come across that quite a bit too, where you may have had a spat with your significant other and it went all the way through the chains of court, and you've got a conviction for that domestic violence. Well, it's illegal for you to have a gun. If you're fleeing from justice, of course, it's illegal for you to have a gun. And if you've been, since we're so close to Warner Robins, where there's the Air Force base, if you've been dishonorably discharged from the military, once again, it's illegal for you to have a gun. So that's the range of prohibited person when you hear that term. And what we run across mostly here are your convicted felons.
Okay, very good. Let me ask you this. Now, how does age, is there a certain age requirement when it's legal to possess a weapon, a gun?
Well, with us, we generally at the federal level, and we do make exceptions, but generally our defendants are 18 and above. Under 18, usually they're left in the juvenile justice or in the state system, but generally under 18, we don't prosecute. Now, once again, there can be some heinous exceptions, but you're going to be taken care of by the state level if you're under 18.
Okay, but generally, I would think, and I don't know, and we can check later, but generally, say if you're 14 or 15 years old, then that has to be illegal. And
That
I
is
think
illegal.
that's the message,
Right.
both of you, that we want to talk about, because I think, and I could be wrong, and we can talk about it, but I think that a lot of young people think it's cool. You know what I'm saying? To have a gun and to show a gun, and I don't think it dawns on them that this could be illegal.
Right.
So that would be illegal, right, Sonja?
You have to, first of all, have a license to own a gun generally. And in order to get that license, in fact, I've got a license, to own a gun here. And I believe the age requirement was, I've got to check mine because I'm well in advance of 18. So I wasn't worried about the age requirement. But I do believe, and I will check, I do believe it has to be either 18 or 21 to actually own a license in the state of Georgia. But I will check on that.
Well, that's very good. Because the interesting thing, that I heard, and I don't know where I heard it from, and I think it's true, that the average age for a lot of these homicides is 14 years old.
Are you talking in Macon or in Middle Georgia?
Yeah.
You're probably right. What I do know statistically is that the murder rate here in the Middle District, specifically in Macon, has at this point from January to now has caught up with the murder rate of 2019, the entire rate, which is absolutely horrendous. Mm-hmm. We have to do something about, just the crime rate in general, but particularly, carrying firearms by these young individuals, because as you stated, Alex, it's the younger people that generally are committing these crimes, hence the reason why this project is so important. And I just looked it up. Yes, I believe that under the Gun Control Act, you've got to be at least 18 years or older to own a firearm.
And then if you got to be 18 years or older and you get caught with one and you're under 18, then, Karen, I think that's the message that we are trying to get through, and that Peyton Anderson and that Judge Treadwell is trying to get through to these young people, that, you shouldn't be walking around with a gun.
Nothing good can come from that. And, I think even just very, very recently, a 10-year-old girl was shot in the back. She was bullets flying towards a house, and one ended up shooting her in the back. Thankfully, she has survived. But I mean, it makes no sense for teenagers to have a gun, and nothing good can come of it.
Okay, that's very true. So, Sonja, talk a little bit. I understand that you're a movie star in the movie. Is that correct?
I play basically the role of a prosecutor, so it was not a stretch. But movie star, no.
Should we contact your agent, or are you okay talking about it?
I think you need to contact Charlie Peeler. Actually, that's my agent.
So talk a little bit about the video, and then Karen, I'm gonna come back to you, and then we can talk about how we can circulate and distribute, the video to as many segments of the community as we can. But talk a little about it.
The video is quite striking. I love the way that this project was put together, because it's from the perspective of a young individual that's faced with a hard choice to make. He appears to be this innocent, wide-eyed little boy that's sitting on, or I should say preteen, that's sitting on the couch next to a friend playing video games. And, he's basically asked to make a hard decision. Hey, you coming tonight? And he's perplexed, because he's like, what do you mean? And as the film unwinds, you find out that the first door, it's told from his perspective of going through to make this hard decision. His first door that he reaches is in a church house setting, where he meets up with a mom played by, I believe her name is, I can't recall her name. I remember her daughter's name, because her daughter was taken way too soon by gun violence. Tanora Jones is her name, the mother's name. And she's sitting in church, and this little boy, Noah, wanders into church, and he doesn't understand why he's there. And she tells Noah her story, how gun violence and possessing a gun took her daughter. And then she tells him, well, move on. You need to go through and see what making that bad decision, how it impacts your life. And then he comes into the courtroom, and he meets me, the prosecutor, and I let him know how many opportunities he had to succeed, how he came from good stock. He had a mom that cared about him, a coach that showed up, and he had committed little crimes and gotten the slaps on the wrist and maybe some probation, which in essence is very true. That's what we see a lot of in federal court, where people, at the state level have committed various crimes, some serious, but, they've gotten probation or maybe a suspended sentence of 10 months in prison, but, to serve 5 on probation. So the next crime, they're bewildered when it's picked up by the feds, and they're facing, mandatory minimums or a statutory maximum of 10 years because they possessed a gun. That's where that lengthy criminal history finally hits, them in the face. And reality is it's not pretty. And so the message in this film is, this is what can happen. And he winds on through the courtroom, Noah does, and he ends up in front of Tina Hunt, who is the head of the Federal Defender's Department here in Georgia, and she is awesome. It was amazing to see her on film, because I got to see that side of her actually with a client. Noah's her little client, and she's very compassionate. Tina's also exceptionally brilliant, and she tells him, it's not much I can do. And she's honest with him. At that point, because of his criminal history in this story, there wasn't much that even she can do. And it hits hard, because it takes Noah through that process. And in the end, he finally meets up with his older version of himself, who is now behind bars because he made the wrong decision and went out with the boys and committed another crime with a gun. And that's too close to reality. I see that all the time in pre-sentence investigation reports. And of course, Judge Treadwell has seen it all too often, hence the reason why he said, well, how do we curtail this? How do we prevent this, hopefully, from happening? How do we prevent another murder or another kid, going off to prison, as a young adult? To me, they're all still kids when they're in their 20s. How do we prevent this? And if we can get them at the preteen level, whose hearts and mind can we change? You know, if we can just get them a lot younger than, than when they turn 18 and they're in the federal system and facing federal time. It's a striking short film. It's only 13 minutes, but I think it's powerful. I really do.
Thank you very much for that explanation. Karen, so what would you like to see? I mean, what's your hope and your wish and your desire for this film and the possible impact that it could have?
Well, first off, it was produced really with the middle school student in mind. However, older elementary students are probably perfectly suited to watch this on up through adult, to really get the message of it. We would like to see every teenager in Bibb and surrounding counties see it. We'd like for them to see it in a fashion too, where they can be in a group with some group discussion, facilitated, and not just watch the video if possible. We'll take what we can get, but Bibb County Public Schools will be showing it. With the schedule's a little bit uncertain right now because of the COVID situation in schools. We would like for church groups, Boys and Girls Clubs, youth development agencies. Sheriff Davis is including it in some youth outreach program work that he does. I've chatted with the coroner and programs that he does. I believe, will use it as well. So we would just like for everybody to see it, and honestly, every age, because you never know who you're going to run into, and you can impact with them. You can just give them a word. So we would like for them to see it. We'd like for them to talk about it and hopefully make a difference in a lot of lives and in our whole community. Yeah.
And it even comes with talking about an organized group. I thought about youth ministries at churches.
Definitely.
Because it even comes with a facilitator's manual. So, the youth minister could take it and show it to the youth group and then have a discussion and facilitate it and have questions and answers and things of that nature, which will be really good. I submit that everybody needs to see this video. Even if you got gray hair like me, because what you laughing at, Sonja? You might run across.
Mine is covered.
You might run across a young person or a grandchild or a mentee or somebody that you can suggest to watch it. So I would like to see, everybody watch it. Now, I'll tell you what we're going to do. This is a call to action.
A call to action.
The whole time I'm interviewing Miss Sonja Profit of the U.S. Attorney's Office and Miss Karen Lambert of the Peyton Anderson Foundation. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
You ready?
I don't know.
Before you go, you need to meet some people.
Your friends are trying to get you to do something you shouldn't be doing. Let me tell you how guns have impacted my family.
You did do something wrong. Simple crimes that seem harmless at the time, but they added up. Under federal law, you do a gun crime, you do hard time. Making a decision that bad when you're young, that could take everything from you.
Can you help me?
Unfortunately, no, I can't. The law says even if you're a kid, you can still go to prison and be treated like an adult, and that's what's happened to you. No one can ever make that felony disappear for you.
Remember me?
I'm sure that nobody's disappointed after seeing just a tidbit of it, but the whole 11 to 13 minutes is very dynamic and it's impactful and it can make a difference. And Karen, if you would, there's a website also that they can go to learn more about it and even view the video, is my understanding. So would you give that to us, please?
Yes, the website is armedwithknowledge.org. And on there, you can see the video. There's some trailers. We would love for you to share on Facebook. There's a facilitator's guide and many resources. It is very meaty. It's easy to maneuver around, but you can find lots of information and watch the video. So armedwithknowledge.org.
And your closing statement, Sonja?
Share it with everyone so that we can keep the guns off the streets, and more importantly, out of the hands of those that are prohibited by law to carry them, and just reinforce this wherever you go, and share it email it to your friends, email it to whomever you can. Just get the word out that hopefully this will change someone's life and save someone's life.
Yes.
We need to change that statistic of the number of homicides we're having in this community.
We certainly do.
It's everybody's responsibility. I'm your host, Alex Haversham, having interviewed Ms. Sonja Profit from the U.S. Attorney's Office and Ms. Karen Lambert of the Peyton Anderson Foundation. And the three of us agree on one thing, that we need to address gun violence in our community, two things, and that everybody needs to see this video. So make it your business, to go to armedwithknowledge.org, and you can view the video and you can share it, and you can help us. You can help us to make a difference in this community by reducing crime. Thank you, ladies. You all have a great day, and we are sure that the numbers are going to go down, down, down. Have a great day.
www.makingblackpages.com.
The people who volunteer at Meals on Wheels of Middle Georgia are a crucial component in helping us accomplish the goal of delivering nutritious meals to homebound senior and disabled citizens. Beyond the delivery of food, the volunteers also provide friendship, comfort, and hope. Become a Meals on Wheels of Middle Georgia volunteer today. Call 478-745-9140.
COVID-19 has impacted each one of us in different ways, but we've all been affected. The only way to protect Middle Georgia and each other is by working together and taking all preventative measures outlined by the CDC. Here's a few tips to prevent COVID-19. Wear a mask. Wash your hands frequently. When you cough, cover your mouth. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Avoid contact with sick people. Also, clean and disinfect to keep you and your family safe.
We'll need your help, and this will help everybody get through COVID-19.
For updates on changes in Macon Bibb, government services, and office hours, visit maconbib.us/COVID-19. And let's protect Middle Georgia.